Special report this morning. Good morning. Once again, Charlie Krausen standing by in the ABC2 Interactive studio. Going to go live now to a press conference going on at Perry Hall High School. That school's principal is Mr. Robert George. George Roberts, excuse me. He's now addressing a decision to reverse the suspension and cancellation of the varsity boys soccer season following some events from a few days ago. Let's listen.
Offered through the National Federation of High School Sports. All the athletes will take that course along with the coach and go through that process to further support the sportsmanlike behavior that we would like to see our student athletes exemplify.
Mr. Roberts, how much did the email from the Delaney High School coach factor into your decision? Because he said that he thinks that other parents there wanted retaliation.
Well, it was a complete picture, Gigi. This was something where, as I mentioned, when the decision was made originally on Wednesday, there was several communication from parents, from students who were at the game. And upon receiving that further information, it was decided to continue the investigation, and then this decision was ultimately made.
What was that information?
I can't go into the specifics of that information. It was just the gathering of more comment from those folks who were there and had firsthand accounts of what was happening.
You talked to some Perry Hall people before you solely listened to the Delaney people and took their word and their version without further investigating the Perry Hall side?
Well, as part of the complete investigation, people were spoken to from all sides, students, parents from Perry Hall, from Delaney, and the students.
After you already made the decision to forfeit the game, then they had a right to speak.
Mr. Roberts, this, I can only imagine, is going to cause a rift between you and your students. What do you say to your soccer boys who worked so hard? How do you apologize to them?
Well, I look at it this way, Gigi. This is my fourth year in Perry Hall High School. I think my work ethic, my reputation in the community, in the high school, I think the boys would tell you and can speak to how much I do care about them, that the decisions I go into are thoughtful decisions, that they certainly have every opportunity to come into my office, to see me in the hallway, to see me in the cafeteria, express their views. So I don't see it as a rift. I see it as really a learning opportunity, a growing opportunity for both of us to join together, to come back together and move forward from this.
Do you think that looking back at it, you may have overreacted, or what have you learned in that aspect?
I think the decision that I made at the time is the right decision at that time. I'm not the type of person who's going to look back with regrets. I look back and, is the decision appropriate? I take all the information, as I mentioned, more information continued to come in from the various communities and from the various stakeholders, and because of that, the decision was reanalyzed to get to this point.
All of the players will be able to play. None will be out, no matter whether they were part of it or not.
That's correct. All 25.
How many players will be involved in the online
course?
Training, yeah.
Oh, this boys varsity soccer program will be
the entire program, not just the players who were.
No, it will be the entire team.
Why wasn't that given before?
Well,
Yeah,
this is something, Gigi, that this is, as I mentioned in my earlier decision, this was a behavior that was first brought to my attention when it was brought to my attention this past Tuesday. It's a program, from my understanding, is a relatively new program for the National Federation of High School Sports, and it's one where we're certainly going to begin to take advantage of it here in the building and integrate it into what we already have in our expectations for the team.
Is dancing out now forever?
Well,
no more flash, no more dancing?
That's a decision that we're not prepared to make right now. Once we go into next week, we'll bring together all the athletic stakeholders. We have a very, very active and supportive athletic booster organization. Our athletic director, myself, other administrators, and certainly students will be involved in looking at team expectations across the whole program and going from there.
Will your other teams also be involved in the training?
Well, and that's a decision we'll make at that point. Right now, because of this situation, we're going to focus on our boys varsity soccer team. Once all the stakeholders come together and we determine we want to expand that to the entire program, I certainly could see that happening.
Would this decision have been any different if a playoff berth had not been at stake?
The decision to
decision to change your?
Well, and always, every investigation we do at the school level is very dynamic, and doing an investigation of this nature, or any other type of investigation, when continuous and more information comes in, new information comes in, we always, as administrators, in the best interest of our kids, are always open to reopening these types of investigations. So the short answer is, if new information did present itself in September, if it did happen, let's say, in September, then certainly this same type of ending could have resulted.
How much did the threat of a lawsuit by Delaney parents of a sexual harassment lawsuit play into your original decision?
It didn't. It didn't. My concern, and my primary concern as principal of Perry Hall High School, are the students of Perry Hall High School, not comments or threats of any nature from another community.
Have you shared this decision with the players before talking to you?
This is the first time I believe they're hearing it right now.
They have a good shot at winning the state championship?
Well, I would defer to probably asking them afterwards, or to Coach.
That would be
How good are
something.
they really?
How good are they? Well, hey.
There you go.
Did you talk to the ladies, principal, about your decision yet?
Mrs. Whitlock was informed. We did have an opportunity to speak this morning, so she's aware.
What did the coach over at Delaney say to you yesterday?
I did not have the opportunity to go over to Delaney yesterday. I stayed here to remain with our students here at the school.
What was the reaction of the Delaney principal?
That was actually, I didn't speak with her personally. She was spoken to and made aware of this. Her reaction I wouldn't be able to speak to.
Principal Roberts, had you even heard of the Bernie dance, or did you?
It was vaguely. I have to admit, I guess I'm showing my age. No, I did not know what it was. Now, I've seen the movie, but that was when I was probably their age. So, no, I wasn't too familiar with it.
What do you think of it?
Is that possible that played a role and you weren't familiar with the dance, maybe you took it the wrong way?
No, I don't think my contention with the students, or my issue with the students wasn't the dance, the type of dance. It was more that the dance was done to begin with. So it wasn't the Bernie versus any other type of dance.
Do you think it's lewd? When you saw it online, what's your initial impression of it?
Well, I think my personal impressions of it aren't really germane to this. I was really wanting to stay focused on, I'm sorry. I really wanted to stay focused on the act itself, the act of what I felt was unsportsmanlike. Whatever the dance wasn't my focus of the investigation.
But it had to be, because the parents from Delaney High said that it was lewd and inappropriate. So if they're going to do a dance that's not lewd and inappropriate, that means that you listened to what they said over your students. So
Right.
that had to factor into your decision.
Yeah, I still don't see that, Gigi. My focus from the beginning was the fact that the students engaged in a celebratory dance. Yes, the Delaney parents had their opinion on what they saw, and that's certainly, they're entitled to their opinion. My focus, once again, was on my students and the fact that they did any type of dance. The fact that a group of citizens feel that it was lewd or had some sexual innuendos, that wasn't weighing on me. It was more what they did, why they did it, where they did it, the context in which they did it, and that's what we're hoping this training and the boys participating in this training will see the wider ramifications of it.
Why did they do it?
Oh, that's, once again, I can't jump into a 16-year-old and 17-year-old's head. That's something you probably have to ask them.
You know, a lot of the young men and women, they see on TV, they see people celebrating, they see people dancing. I know going back into the dark ages when I went to high school, when we won, we got real excited. We'd jump up and down, scream and yell.
Right.
And it was like flaunting. What kind of guidelines do these young men and young women that play sports today have? Because they need to know. I mean, a lot of times when you win, you're happy. And it's a normal human reaction. And I don't think a lot of times it's about showing out the other guy. What are these kids to do? I don't see anything wrong with them dancing and being happy.
There's a reason the NFL puts in place, and everybody knows this, the NFL puts in place certain guidelines about their celebration dances in the end zones, what they're allowed to do, where they're allowed to do it, things they're allowed, and that's a course that's been changed and evaluated every year by their whole program. So, it's not necessarily the celebration or the dance. It's the context and in which it was done. Like Coach or Mr. Roberts said, where it was done, and how it's perceived and how it's taken. it's got to be done in a sportsmanship in mind. It needs to be, you can do it, not necessarily the dance or whatever it is. It just, what you're doing, you need to make sure that you're not showing up the other team or the opposing crowd. You're not doing it to throw something in their face. You're doing it in celebration for what you just did. So if you score a goal, it's a celebration for your goal being scored, not a, hey, look what we just beat you.
And that's something we'll work with. I'm sorry.
Were you there to see that, Principal?
To see I wasn't present at the Delaney game.
Neither of you were?
No.
So how did you base your decisions?
Well, just like on many situations as administrators, when things happen in the schoolhouse, for example, we may not be there to have witnessed what happened in a classroom or in the hallway or in the cafeteria. We do what we did this entire week. We collect statements. We collect statements from firsthand accounts from people who were there. We try to get as wide a net as possible at the time with the information that we have. Because the nature of our business in a school building with hundreds of students, there's always going to be more students than staff. So we have to go on our investigation of interviewing and then making the best decision we feel we can from what we have.
Now that you've reconstructed as best you can what happened, can you give us an idea of how many students were involved in the dance? How many players?
From the investigation, we're looking at least a dozen to 15, if not a little more, but there's not an exact number.
So majority of the team?
We would say a majority of the team.
So there was talk last night that a new field was being built and that the donors of this field were offended by this dance. Is there any truth to that?
Here at Perry Hall, or?
Yes.
No, as far to my knowledge, there's no new field being built. I don't think so.
At what point yesterday did you say to yourself, I gotta reverse this? What happened?
I can't pinpoint a time. It's, as I mentioned with all of our investigations, as you continue to see and collect information, as it comes to you, whether being asked, whether you're asking, or whether it's presented to you, it's hard to pinpoint at a certain time. It's just, you look at it all and you go, you know what, this needs to be re-examined.
Was it strictly your decision, or did you confer with your athletic director?
There's always, in my investigation, my philosophy of leadership is always conferring, always conferencing, always checking with the pertinent players. In this particular case, it dealt with athletics, or athletic director Ruse. If it were a grade level issue with the student, then certainly that grade level administrator, depending on the situation.
And did you